Good morning. Oh, very loud here. My name is Rouven. I work for a company called Contentful. I'm one of the developer evangelists. I'm also the sole PHP ecosystem developer, so all things PHP we do comes from me. Two requests up front. This talk has a lot of technology complexity. Please be rather quiet, because Alexa gets easily confused when there's background noise. And I'm going to live deploy code to AWS. I need good Wi-Fi, so don't download some torrents or anything. That's going to really screw up this talk. I don't have a backup at all. So really quick, I work for a company called Contentful. We have a content management developer platform with an API at its core. That means with us, you cannot just build websites, you can also build much more interesting things, like mobile apps or voice skills. That's where I get to play with Alexa. If you want to learn more about this, come meet me afterwards. I have cool socks. Rather get you one than take them back home. And one last warning, there's going to be no PHP at all in this talk. So if you came here to see some PHP code, this is the time to leave. So let's get into it. Why do you want to speak to a computer? Or why do I want to speak to a computer? Well, when I grew up in the 90s, I watched Knight Rider. I really liked the show. Knight Rider is actually an 80s show. In Germany, just everything comes 10 years later. So why did I love Knight Rider? Well, first of all, it was David Hasselhoff. Yeah? The Germans just love him. He's awesome. But then also there was this.
Or a barrel roll with a somersault combined. My data confirms that a 100-mile-per-hour approach to a 48-degree angle.
This was a little bit shorter than it was supposed to be. But hey, a talking car. This is awesome. And Kit wasn't the only thing that inspired us to think, how could we talk to our computers?
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
There's HAL 9000. And I wonder how many of you know this one?
Shall we play a game?
There's Warp from War Games. You can't talk to him, but at least he talks back to you. So it's still pretty cool. So talking with computers is awesome in the movies. Because let's look at the realities as they were in the 90s. And this was state of the art.
Dial 555-1212.
Phone dial 555-1212.
Radio tune 101.1.
Radio tune 101.1 FM.
It's a breakthrough technology, a voice-activated control system for your car. And get this, you don't have to pre-program it, and it responds to any driver's voice. Unlike other voice recognition technologies, this Vistion system doesn't need to learn your voice first.
Doesn't have to learn your voice first. This was amazing. This was like late 90s. You can tell from the video quality. It was a breakthrough. Yet, if you look at it, it only knows predefined phrases. There's no actual understanding of what you say. You just tell it numbers like 101.1. You can't just tell it, I want to listen to BBC One. It doesn't know state. It doesn't know what you did last time. So you cannot say, what about this? You always have to repeat the full command. And overall, it's like not so nice experience, which is probably the reason why not all our cars talk back to us today. But then something changed in 2011. The future came, and Apple introduced Siri. Let's see how they did that.
Read me the message.
New message from Sebastian. Great news. We got the go-ahead. Can you meet at 10?
Reply, definitely. I'll see you there. Play my running mix.
What's the traffic like around here?
Here's the traffic.
Text my wife, I'm going to be 30 minutes late.
Is it going to be chilly in San Francisco this weekend?
Not too cold. Maybe down to 61 degrees in San Francisco.
What about Napa Valley?
Doesn't seem like it.
How many cups are in 12 ounces?
Let me think. Okay, here you go.
Set my timer for 30 minutes.
Okay, 30 minutes and counting. New notification from messages. Sandy Chen, are we still on for dinner tonight?
Reply. Sure, I'll be there.
Here's your reply to Sandy Chen. Sure, I'll be there.
Send.
So So first of all, Apple makes great commercials. I mean, hands down. Now, this probably seems pretty ordinary to us today, but back in 2011, I saw this commercial for the first time. It blew my mind. If you compare this to the 90s segment we saw before, it's stateful. You can ask follow-up questions. You can use very natural phrasing. How's the weather in? What's the weather there? What's going on? And the thing that kind of sucks, if you looked at it, you always had to press a little button to activate actually speaking to it. They fixed that a couple of years later, but it actually got pretty close to something people want to use. And Apple wasn't, of course, the only ones. Microsoft had Cortana a couple of years later. Very soon after, Google had Google Now. So all our phones, we can talk to them. And it's actually quite amazing to consider a device of this size can do all of this. Well, they can do it thanks to the cloud, but still, they can do it. So why isn't this awesome? There were no APIs. I'm a developer. I want to build cool stuff. And I have these awesome platforms there. And I really, really want to build my own voice applications. And I can't. It really sucks. So that changed when Amazon introduced Alexa and the Amazon Echo. From the first day, they had APIs. Actually, 2 APIs. The one where you can build your own voice interfaces, what I'm going to show you in a little bit. And what many people don't know, it actually has an API to embed Alexa into your own devices. So there's a macOS plugin. There's a browser-based Alexa. People have used the singing fish to talk to Alexa. So you can be really creative with it and build really cool stuff. Now, to get started with actually showing you how Alexa works, I would like to play a little game. And I want to volunteer. Who wants to play a game and win a contentful Rubiks Cube? Show of hands. Somebody has to volunteer, or we're not going forward with this presentation. You will find out. You have to come up on stage. Yeah, applause. What's your name? Ashley, hi. So, you ready to play a game?
Yeah, go on then.
All right, how well do you know HTTP? So,
I'm suddenly doubting it now.
Stand near here, and you have to speak into the microphone so it actually gets out, but Alexa, start HTTP quiz.
Welcome to HTTP Trivial Quiz. I will ask you 4 questions. Try to get as many right as you can. Just say the letter of the answer. Let's begin. Question 1. Which of these HTTP headers is famously misspelled in the protocol? A. Referrer. B. Location. C. Host. D. Server.
Referrer?
Just say the letter.
A.
The correct answer is A. Referrer. Your score is 0. Question 2.
Have to speak louder.
Which of these methods is the only one defined as safe? A. Put. B. Options. C. Post. D. Delete.
B.
That answer is correct.
Woo!
Your score is 1. Question 3. The first documented version of HTTP had which version number? A. 0.1. B. 0.5. C. 1.1. D. 0.9.
D.
That answer is correct. Your
I'm
score
impressed.
is 2. Question 4.
1 in 4.
Which of these methods is not idempotent? A. Get. B. Patch. C. Options. D. Delete.
Repeat.
The correct answer is B. Patch.
That.
You got 2 out of 4 questions correct. Thank you for playing.
3 questions right. I'm impressed. That's actually more than most people get. You really deserve your cube. Thank you. And we give this. All right. So this is just a fun little game. Let's see how does this actually work. There are 3 essential parts to this. We're using Contentful to just store the questions. This is a stand-in for whatever web API you have. I really recommend not just taking the Alexa webhooks and putting it into your big monolith application. That's a recipe for disaster. Use a well-defined API that uses the interface for all your user interactions, and use AWS Lambda. AWS Lambda is the function as a service from AWS, where you just upload a JavaScript function, which in reality is more than one function, of course, and it gets executed, it gets seamlessly scaled up, and big bonus, you don't have to deal with all the hassle of setting up HTTPS and all the other security stuff Alexa requires, because your voice data is private. It's just all taken care of you if you use AWS Lambda. So let's build one. And I really hope this works, because if the Wi-Fi is going to drop out, I'm going to be really, really sad. So, I'm logged into the Amazon developer portal. Can you all read this, or should I make it slightly larger? Yeah, readable? Yeah, nobody complaining? Sounds good. So, let's create a new skill. We want the skill to be English. It's a custom interaction model. There are some predefined interaction models from Amazon where you have to do less work, but we want to put in the work today. And let's start with one that we call PHP UK Facts. Now, when I started the skill earlier, I said start HTTP Quiz. HTTP Quiz was the invocation name. Alexa, actually, in a way, is like a mobile. That's a really bad idea to say the name all the time.
If you want me to repeat something you said, say Simon says and then immediately say what you want me to repeat.
Thanks, Alexa. So it's always you have to launch an application first before you can do anything that a developer outside of Amazon built. So the invocation name for the last one was HTTP Quiz. This one is going to be PHP UK Facts. And I don't want to play audio, so this is a no. All right, next up. Now I have to define my interaction model. That means I have to model all the ways my user can interact with my skill. Now, the intent schema is just a JSON file where you say, what are the possible ways of invoking something in your application? All these invocations are called intents. So we define an array of intents. And since this is also simple, I want to get a fact skill, we can just do with one intent, if I spell intent correctly, that is, which we're going to call get new fact intent. All right, so far so clear. Now, I told Amazon or Alexa the way or which options there are, but it doesn't understand yet the language because it doesn't naturally assume get a new fact intent has some certain meaning. So you have to tell Alexa what it is. To do that, I repeat my intent name, get new fact intent, and then I have to give sample phrases. So let's say a fact, or tell me a fact, or give me a fact. You don't have to list all the possible options. Alexa is smart enough to infer some from the ones you do have, but the reliability is much, much better when you give it much, much more. I know skills with over 1,000 sample phrases for one intent. This is really where you have to put in the work and think about all the possible ways of phrasing what the user wants to say, and that's what makes it sound smart. So it's actually not that smart, it just appears very smart. So now this takes a little bit while Amazon is creating the voice model. Oh, already done. Awesome. Good Wi-Fi. So now, as earlier said, I want to use AWS Lambda because it's much easier. I'm hosting my Lambda function in North America. I took the liberty of creating one earlier, so I just copy and paste the Amazon resource name, or AWS resource name, sorry, in here. Say next. And so far, so done. Right, so now I have a voice model, but of course I don't have any code to actually work with it. So if my iPad keeps turning off, I won't know what to do next. So let's start writing some code. I preset up this project, which doesn't work this way I wanted. All right, let's keep it this way. So I'm, Whenever you have an AWS Lambda function in Node.js, you have this little definition. Event is the current event that gets set up to you. You get some context from the Lambda function, and you get a callback to call it back. Amazon is nice enough to provide us with an Alexa voice SDK, which makes writing these skills much, much easier. So let's set up this SDK. To do that, I just invoke Alexa handler, and I have to pass the event. Typing is not my strong suit today. And the context to it. Next up, I have to register some handlers. So let's just assume we have a variable handlers. And, oh, sorry, my voice is leaving me. And then I'm going to execute. All right, so this is the boilerplate you need just to invoke the Alexa SDK. Now, of course, I also need my actual handlers. So let's create an object and it's just a value map. So anybody remember what the intent was called we just created? Yes, get new fact intent. Very important, it has to be complete. So it's just a function. And now we want Alexa to tell us a fact. So I'm saying this, emit. So it's an event I'm giving out. And the event name in this case is going to be tell. And then let's have, let's say grass is green. Big revelation. Awesome. So let's publish this. That's a big disadvantage of cloud-hosted code. There is no local write, run, test cycle. You always have to go back to the cloud. Let's see if this works. Alexa, asked PHP UK facts, fact.
There was a problem with the requested skills response.
That wasn't what's supposed to happen? I'm sorry? Thank you very much. Yes, this is the reason why you shouldn't live code on stage. And I have about 50 lines more of code to write, so this is going to get interesting here.
But you have 200 people helping you debug.
That's a good point. It's like ultimate pair programming here. All right, let's try this again. Alexa, ask PHP UK facts, fact.
Grass is green.
Woo! So I just made a computer speak to me. Now, earlier, the fact, the skill, I started with start skill name. Let's try this. Hey, Alexa, start PHP UK facts.
There was a problem with the requested skills response.
Now, this one was intended. The reason is, maybe you should have put the sleep off. There's a magic intent called the launch request. And this one gets called when you just start the skill without telling it what to do. So by simply doing this, I have the same effect, just have to duplicate a lot of code. Duplicating code, everybody knows, sucks. So the Alexa SDK has a way around that for us. We can create virtual intents, like this one, get fact. And let's get the code in there. And then I can just dispatch to that virtual intent. All right, makes sense? So let's deploy this one. And try again. Hey, Alexa, start PHP UK facts.
Sorry, I didn't understand the question I heard.
Too bad. Hey, Alexa. Hey, Alexa, start PHP UK facts.
Grass is green.
Works also. Wonderful. Now, side note, I have a very bad English accent. I'm actually terribly impressed that Alexa understands my English at all. Siri is much, much worse at it. So be easy on her. Now, this is interesting, but it's not that interesting. We want some more facts. So let's make us a little bit of an array. We already have grass is green. And let's also say the sky is blue. Now, this is not terribly relevant to Alexa itself, but bear with me here. I want a random index from that array. So I'm calling random int between null and facts.length -1 because it's 0 indexed. And I'm getting my random fact, which is then facts and that index. All right, easy enough. So now it's a good practice to always have your speech output in variables. We're going to see later a little bit why. So let's start doing that right now. Here's a fact. Spelling is actually very important for Alexa. Also good punctuation. Depending on whether you use a question mark, an exclamation point, the pronunciation of Alexa is going to sound differently. So if you're a bad speller, like I am, have somebody double check your stuff. So here's a fact. Let's use this, and then we want our random fact. All right, let's try this once again. That's actually, it doesn't matter because it's JavaScript. JavaScript semicolons are optional. I just make them because I used to them from PHP. Thank you. Thanks for paying attention. So let's try this once more. Start. Hey, Alexa. Hey, Alexa. Start PHP UK effects.
Here's fact. Grass is green.
Oh, I'm missing an A. So much for good spelling. All right, so this is just more code. Let's make this slightly more interesting. Well, I work for Contentful, so obviously I'm storing all my facts in Contentful. So let's do that. Work Contentful, and I got myself a small helper library here, which I'm going to use now, which is the Contentful client. And the Contentful client needs my config for my access token. And now I got Contentful Effects. Let's get some Contentful. Get all facts. Anybody here worked with JavaScript promises before? Okay, better question. Anybody has not worked with JavaScript promises before? So for those who don't know, JavaScript promises is a more convenient way of encapsulating asynchronous operations in JavaScript. And that's the reason why we're using it here. So this one I don't need anymore, because all my facts now also live in the cloud. Isn't the cloud awesome? All right. And important trap, this is always for this context of the current function. So because my code here wouldn't work, let's do this. All right, deploying once more. Cool, let's start again. Hey, Alexa. Hey, Alexa. Start PHP UK effects. Hey, Alexa. Start PHP UK effects.
Here's a fact. Rouven is quite nervous about coding live on stage.
Live on stage, all right, good pronunciation there. But it works quite well. Now, this is also a very easy example. I just do something, I tell her something, or ask her a question, and she gives me a response. It's not very interactive. It's not very exciting. So let's make it a little bit more exciting. I talked earlier about the importance of having state in your voice skills. So let's introduce some state. Now, for this very simple example, we're just going to have one state beyond the initial invocations state. Yes? So let's call this fact mode. And so everybody else is quiet. I'm giving it a semicolon. Now, I have two handlers that I need. I need my original handler, which is dealing with the initial invocation when I'm first starting the application. And I'm also going to need a state handler for my new mode. And it's going to be the fact state handler. And I'm doing that by Alexa create state handler. I'm giving it the name I just gave my state. And just another object in JavaScript. So what I want to do now, I want Alexa to ask me, I want to give me a fact, and then I want it to ask me if I want another's. So to do that, I want first the same options I have here, but then I want it to be able to ask me yes or no. So let's put this out first into another function. Let's call this one getFact. All right. And before I emit my speech here, I wanted to transition to another state. That state that I do by saying that handlers, state, and just, again, my state name. Game state fact. Now, if I wanted to actually ask me a question, the behavior from Alexa is different. It actually keeps open the connection, so I don't have to start it again using hey, Alexa. I can just answer with the follow-up. To do that, I have to say asked, and I'm getting a second variable. It's called the reprompt text. So let's say the reprompt text here is reprompt text. Do you want another? Awesome. And my speech output, of course, should be the speech and the reprompt text. So far, so simple. Now, when it comes to the second invocation, I have to handle the yes and no responses. To do that, I'm going to add 2 new intents to my voice model. And these are going to be the Amazon.yes-intent, if I spell it correctly. This is a magic intent, and that you don't need to provide sample utterances for it. There are around, I don't know, a couple of dozen of these, which Alexa just knows already how people want to use this. You can add more additional ones if you feel like your application has special needs, but this intent already knows all the ways of phrasing, yes, I want something. So you don't have to do it yourself. And when there's a yes, there's always the possibility for a no. So we take the no intent too. All right, back to it. So we have the Amazon yes intent. And that is also going to be our getFact function again. And of course, we have an Amazon no intent. Whoops. And this one is just going to us saying her to tell us. Oh, I'm really not good at typing today. Goodbye. All right. Now, important observation, because I just noticed it myself. I have to pass all the voice handlers, obviously, to register handlers. Otherwise, this can't work. So register handlers is a variadic function. You can just add as many as you want. The common convention is to have one handler for the initial ones, and then another handler for every state. Doesn't have to be that way. You can freely mix and match that. You can split up the initial handler over as many objects as you want. Usually not necessary, though. So let's try to get this into the cloud again. All right. Hey, Alexa. Ask PHP UK fact.
There was a problem with the requested skills response.
Anybody saw my mistake yet? You're awesome. So what's the problem? Yes, it is, but that's not the problem, because it didn't even get that far. Now, this one is actually correct, because this is this Alexa. No, that's uppercase, that's correct. You mean here? Ah, yes, but also not the problem. But you're amazing, guys. Actually, now I have to look up what's correct. Jesus Christ, such a bad preparation. I swear I've done this error-free before. All right, let's try this again, and then just look into the logs. So, hey Alexa. Hey Alexa. Start PHP UK facts. Hey Alexa. Start PHP UK facts. This is going to error out, so let's just look into the logs.
There was a problem with the requested skills response.
Which brings me to an amazing next point. I can show you how to live debug code on the cloud. So as I mentioned before, I have this AWS Lambda function running here. You get some built-in monitoring. So I see here a spike in the error rate. I wonder why. I can also tell, which is quite interesting, how long the invocations take. So if I spend too much time generating responses, it's probably not going to be a good experience for the user if he has to wait for a very long time for a response. To actually see the logs, I can look into CloudWatch. And let's see the last one. Warning, application ID is not set. This is expected. Now, if I don't get an error message, I have a problem. Let's look into the one before that. No underhandled function defined for event. Interesting. This shouldn't have happened. All right. I'm just going to cheat, because, of course, I came prepared. And I'm just going to overwrite this with the one that I know is working. Hey, Alexa. Start PHP UK facts.
Here's your fact. Rouven is quite nervous about coding live on stage. Do you want to hear another?
Yes.
Here's your fact. PHP UK has great cakes. Do you want to hear
Yes, they do.
another?
No.
Goodbye.
So this is the simplest way of just asking a question. And now for this one, we're just dealing with a yes or no response, which Amazon nicely covers for us. But it's also not that hard to deal with more complex questions. And to do that, we're going to get back to our game. So first, I have to change my voice skill, because now it's not a fact bot anymore. Now it's a quiz. So let's change the name and the invocation name. And let's think about how do I model actually a quiz. Well, there's two essentials in there. I need an answer intent. Oh, I can't type because Amazon is still processing the model. Awesome. So let me just talk what I'm going to do. Now it goes. So I need an intent that tells the user the answer. So no, the user tells me the answer. I need an intent to handle that. And because we are nice people, we also want a don't know intent. So the user can just skip a question. Now the answer intent is special in that it's not just a statement they're making, but they're also responding with a choice. In this case, it was A, B, C, or D. So I could now create 4 different intent: A intent, B intent, C intent, D intent. But it's tiring very, very quickly if you have a lot of slots. Like I know some people who in Berlin, they built a BVG, which is our local transportation company skill. And you can tell it from this station to that station, how do I get there? You don't want to write intents for all the station names in Berlin. I think we have like 400 of them. That's really not what you want to do. So the solution here is to add a second property to your object, which is called slots. And slots are like variables. So when you come later to the sample phrases, you can use whatever you use here as variables in your sample addresses. And whatever happens in this variable, you get passed to your application. And don't forget the comma. So a simple slot would look like this. The type is going to be the name of my variable, essentially. In this case, answer. And it also needs a type. Oops, no, this is obviously wrong. The name is, of course, the name and not the type. So, and there are a lot of predefined types, like numbers, dates, places in the US, UK, and Germany, actually. I know, there are dozens of them. But sometimes it just doesn't cut it, and you need your own slot, like station names in Berlin, or in this case, a list of answers. Whenever this happens, you need to create a custom slot type, give it the name, and then give it all the possible values. And by all, I actually mean absolutely all. There's no intelligence to say, oh yeah, and it might be something similar. Or later on, I can't say I want a sample utterances. This is a slot, and then the user might mumble something else afterwards. This is also the reason why when Ashley asked, or just said, referrer as the response, it didn't work. There's no way for me to encode all the possible answers for any question that might be. So either I reflect all my questions and answers in this, or I'm just out of luck. So now, new sample phrases. Let's do it quick and easy. It's the answer intent is either just the answer, or it could be the answer is answer. And for the don't know intent, again, bad typing, it should be don't know, or I don't know, what else do you guys say in England? Let's say don't know. All right. Now, this is a very simplistic voice model. For the actual HTTP quiz, I have a much more elaborate one, which I might have to copy and paste into this later on to actually get it to work. But let's get back to our code. So we already talked about the game states. Now, our quiz is a little bit more complicated, so we need some more states. First of all, I need the trivia mode. The trivia mode is when you're actually responding to questions. Then I have start, which is the one when you initially start a new game. And something all skills should have, otherwise Amazon is not letting you into their skills store, is help. So since there's not a lot of exploration possible, you have no GUI to just click around, there's no --help on the command line, you need a way of discovering how you can actually interact with a given skill. And that's what the help keyword is for, which I haven't registered yet, but I might do later. So I also, since a proper voice call is kind of complex, I get me some helpers. So I just importing some functions. And I also preset up my handlers a little bit. All right. Now I have to pay attention that I don't have duplicates. This one can go away. All right. So very simple. I have fewer handlers. So I have the generic, new session handlers. These are all the handlers that get invoked the first time you actually start the skill. Then I have the start state handlers, the trivia state handlers, and the help state handlers. So this game is already much more complex. And now if you think about a real application, you're probably going to end up with quite a few states. But again, this is what actually makes Alexa seem intelligent. So it's really important to put in the time for this. Let's see. Where do we start? We start with start the game. All right? So whenever we start the game, we want it to welcome us. So let's just say, welcome to the PHP UK quiz. All right. Good enough. Well, not quite good enough, because if the user starts over, we don't want to repeat that all the time. So let's make this optional and make it empty in this case. All right. Oh, thank you very much. You're amazing, guys. So again, my questions are coming from Contentful. Get all questions. Another promise. Should have made a shortcut for new functions. I'm doing them quite a lot. And I'm getting back some items. Now, this is mostly set up here. Importantly, since I have a lot of data I want to pass between these different states, since I now don't have just yes-no questions, but I also have logic like the previous score, I need a way of storing that. Alexa has a built-in session system, which I'm going to use later on. So I want a new game. So I made me a little state object, and I'm going to init that state. Also, I always need the current question, because that's the one I'm going to ask later. So I'm asking the state get current. Where is it? Get current question, and it also needs, again, all the items. All right, so that's the boring setup part of how to actually get a game. Now, what do we want Alexa to tell us? And again, we have the reprompt text. And this is going to be question. And let's skip the letter. Let's just say, let's get cut off on my note. That sucks. Current question and the question, I think. This isn't good. This should work. I trust in myself. All right. And the speech output complete is, again, plus equals the reprompt text. So this is pretty similar to what we've done before. We just assigned some text to actually get us going. The interesting thing is that state I've created up here, var state helper initial game, I need to save away. So Alexa actually needs to know, or the Alexa SDK, this is part of my session. I want that information later on. For that, there's a magic variable, called that in this case, called that attributes. Right. Everything that's stored in that attributes, you can reload on the next invocation of the same skill, as long as the session is still open. So remember when I said asked, I had to ask me something. I didn't have to say, hey, Alexa again. So I was still in the same session. As soon as the connection closes once, the session gets deleted. So if you need longer-term storage, you actually want to remember something about the user, you need to work with a database or something. You can't just do this with the session. Yeah, I'm saving away my state. And I'm also always recommend saving away your reprompt text. For the simple reason, a skill always should have the option of saying repeat, and you get asked the question again. All right, so far so good, if this actually works. And we're going to, again, say that handler state. The next state we're going to use in this case is the trivia state. And then we're going to say that image. And we want to ask something. So again, speech output, reprompt text. Now let's see if this actually works, so if I screw it up again. Hi, Alexa. Actually, I forgot something very important, I just realized. Ha, 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 ha. Let's do this again. What's missing, anybody realized? No? Much more significant. I'm asking the question, but I'm not giving you the potential answers. That's probably not a good idea. So let's do that too. And the state has a nice little helper function dafür, which is called create answer list. And it just needs the current question and the state.
Do you need a space where you concatenate reprompt text?
The space where, yes, I do. I love you guys. You guys are amazing. I want to hire all of you and do all my coding with you. Also, I think this one is wrong, so I'm going to peek at my solution really quick. No, actually, it's right. Ha, I'm amazing. Hey, Alexa. Start PHP UK quiz.
Welcome to the PHP UK quiz question. What year was the first PHP UK conference in London? A. 1998. B. 2006. C. 2017. D. 2010.
That sounded a little bit weird. Why was that? Well, because I added a
There was a problem with the requested skills response.
Not to say always mute, Alexa. So why does it sound so weird? Yes, and the reason is because I didn't have a period there. So Alexa thought this is one long-run sentence. Beginning of the reprompt text. That's also very true. And also there needs to be another period. So again, punctuation is very important to actually make it sound good. You can get it to work without, but it won't sound very well. Now I've saved away my state. I also want to get to use my state. That's the obvious second part. So I already started writing this handle user guess function, so I'm going to use this here. I'm just going to call it. And it gets one parameter, whether the user gave up at this point or not. If the user answers the question, he obviously hadn't given up. If he says don't know, then he did give up. All right, so let's deal with that guess. So what I'm doing here is, I'm accessing this attributes, which contains all the state I've saved previously. I'm decoding that, and I'm giving it my state object, which is a nice little class which encodes some of the logic. First thing I want to know is this the correct answer? And to do that, I need to get the response the user said, A, B, C, D. This one is stored in this event request intent. So this isn't just the answer stored there. It encodes all the logic, like what name is of the intent, what slots were used, what is on all these slots in there. But the isAnswerCorrect function is going to deal with all of these problems for us. So let's say if this is correct, then of course the score has to go up. And our analysis, whoops. Copy and pasting is easier than typing, is going to be correct. And if it's wrong, we're not going to increase the score, and our analysis is going to be boo. All right, fair enough. What we're not handling, though, is what is when the user gives up. So let's deal with that case too. User gave up. Then we don't want to do this. So let's say if the user didn't give up, then our analysis is boo. And we probably also want to tell the user what the correct answer is. So again, more string concatenation. Did you ever hear the joke of web development as just finding a million ways of concatenating strings? Voice development is pretty similar. In the end, it all comes down to how efficiently can you add some strings. I would have loved to use template strings from ES6. Unfortunately, AWS Lambda runs on an ancient version of Node.js, so you can't. As I said, the correct answer is, and my state helper gives me get what is called as I said, the answer is state correct answer text. All right, that should be good enough for our case for today. All right, so this is my analysis. The other big part that I have to do, I want to see if the user is at the end of the game. So I'm checking is state game over. If it's the case, if the user gave up, oops, no, I'm mistaking myself. Oh yeah, too much typing. Speech output, all right. If the user gave up, then I don't want to tell him anything. And if it is not that he gave up, that answer is, all right, so this is my speech output. And more speech output. I want the analysis in there. So, whoops. And I want us to know what the score is. So, what's the score? The score is state score. So, now when the game is over, what we want to do is we want to finish the program. Finishing the program is most easily done by just emitting something and telling. And what we're going to tell is the speech output. All right? What's wrong here? Ah, yes. Thank God for syntax highlighting. Now, if the user is still playing, we want to play around. So we start doing that by just asking the state to play around for us. Then we're going to get another round of question, get one question in this case only, and the state is giving us the question ID. And we have another one of our lovely promises. If you don't use promises after this talk, some JavaScript developer is going to haunt you. Because if I had to do this all in callbacks, we would never get done here at all. All right, so very simple. I'm just going to liberally copy some of the code from here. Yes, this is the current question. Yeah, this is my reprompt text. I'm also going to need the answer list again, which is going to be this part, and I'm going to need this part too, and this part too. I'm just going to be generous here. All right, so now my speech output is actually wrong, because too much copy and pasting, I'm sorry for that. Going to make that more efficient the next time. I'm assigning my state, wonderful, and now I have to ask the question once again. And then I'm going to pray that this actually works after all this typing. Which one? 82? The score is? The space, yes. And let's put a period here, so it actually sounds kind of decent at least. I have an answer list. Yeah, this looks good enough. One more. 82. The score is, yeah, OK. I don't think it has to sound perfect right now. So much perfectionism in this room, I love it. All right. Hey, Alexa. Hey, Alexa. Hey, Alexa. Start PHP UK quiz. Hey, Alexa. Start PHP UK quiz.
Welcome to the PHP UK quiz. Question: from how many different countries are PHP UK attendees this year? A.
So before we play this, who wants another chance of winning a Rubik's Cube? Because I don't need to play this, I wrote the questions.
The answer is 16. The score
Shut it. Just making it easier. So anybody who wants to have another chance of winning a Rubik's Cube? Again, this talk is not over until somebody wins a Rubik's Cube. Hey, what's your name? Ma. Hi. Applause for Ma for being brave enough. close to the speaker and just the letter, please.
Yep.
So, hey Alexa. Hey Alexa. Start PHP UK quiz.
Welcome to the PHP UK quiz. Question: what year was the first PHP UK conference in London? A. 2010. B. 1984. C. 2017. D. 2006.
D.
That answer is correct. The score is 1.
Okay, that shouldn't have happened. But thank you for being a good sport.
The correct answer is about 4,000. The score is 1. That answer is The correct answer is 2. The score is 1.
All right. Stay here, you get another chance. I have the full version that actually works. We're going to play this properly. That's why you should never live code. Hey Alexa, start PHP UK quiz.
Welcome to the PHP UK Trivial Quiz. I will ask you 3 questions. Try to get as many right as you can. Just say the letter of the answer. Let's begin. Question 1. From how many different countries are PHP UK attendees this year? A. 192. B. 16. C. 30. D. 3.
B.
That answer is correct. Your score is 1. Question 2. About how many tiny cakes will be served during refreshment breaks and lunch over the 2 conference days? A. About 1,000. B. More than 10,000. C. About 7,000. D. About 4,000.
D.
That answer is correct. Your score is 2. Question 3. What year was the first PHP UK
we already had
conference
that
in
one.
London? A. 2017. B. 2010. C. 1984. D. 2006.
D.
That answer is correct. You got 3 out of 3 questions correct.
I'm impressed. Thank you. Just keep.
I got 2 of them from that.
That doesn't count. Nobody needs to know. All right. So this is, except for my lack of coding skills live on stage, pretty easy to do. Now there's one last trick I actually want to show you. This is all fine and dandy to just have Alexa speak to you, but sometimes you want a little bit more zazz or a little bit more, I don't know, sparkle in there, and you want to get a little bit more creative than what you can do with Alexa itself. So you can also get sound files. And to do that, I've stored one, once again, in Contentful. I'm really not good at typing the word function. And this is my settings. And I just want to get all of this now asynchronously, nice and easy in here. And return. OK, this is basically the same program I had before. Now, the interesting thing is, I want to add an audio tag. And to do that, I'm adding another string, not like this. What the heck? Really, really can't type today. It's just going to be audio, source, oops, like this. And another escape here. And then I just say settings, opening audio, that was what it was called, yes. Perfect. Looks this right? This looks fairly right, but now I'm less brave, now I'm checking. Audio source, no equal sign? Ah, yeah. See, didn't look right. All right, let's apply this once more. Hey Alexa. Hey Alexa. Start PHP UK quiz.
There was a problem with the requested skills response.
I'm just going to be copy and pasting again. So many files. Hey Alexa. Start PHP UK quiz.
Welcome to the PHP UK Trivial Quiz.
Shall we play a game?
I will ask you 3 questions. Try to get as many right as you can. Just say the letter of the answer.
Now I regret not implementing the stop intent because now I can stop this app. All right, there it is. So this is how much I want to code because I really don't want to code anymore live on stage. I hope I got across a little bit that you can do and how you interact with an API when using Amazon Alexa. It's fairly easy to add this to your existing application if you have an API. If you don't have one, you should. APIs are awesome. The really difficult part, in my opinion, is thinking about all the states and the actual interaction model. I really recommend there should be UX challenges. I just thought about DX all week, so that's why there's DX in the slides. Designing voice user interfaces from O'Reilly is the best book, actually the only really good book I've found so far to help you think about these problems. There's also not a programmer problem, it's more of a design problem. So if you want to do this in your company, grab your designers, buy them this book, and then start implementing voice interfaces. And with that, I thank you for your attention, and go build voice interfaces. I don't think we have, you can have a lot of thoughts. I think we have time for questions, so find me afterwards. I'm going to hang out near the Contentful sign if you have questions about Alexa or Contentful. Thank you.